the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
I talked to Graham Coffey of Dog Central yesterday. Kind of like one of the things that is going to be super fascinating from his perspective and the Georgia perspective is that what does Heupel's offense look like with mostly blue chippers? And because we saw him overachieve in the offense, part of the appeal early on was that it raised the floor and that you were able to get to 10-2 in year two and lose so many players and just kind of pick your spots in the portal and still do a lot of stuff with guys who weren't even Heupel guys by and large. And the Bryles type scheme that he runs ultimately still lends itself to less talented teams being able to have a lot of success in the regular season. But then they have run up against the Georgia of the world, and that's been a different story for Heupel. Is that something that you're really, really fascinated by when you look at they have to go to Athens this year, obviously, and with Texas and Oklahoma coming in, how Tennessee stacks up there? But is that something you're monitoring is like, what does Heupel do offensively? What changes to make this offense more sturdy against the big dogs? And how much does it change with so many blue chippers because he's recruited so well over the last 2 years?
Yeah, there is a lot of talent to work with. There's experience as well with guys like Cooper Mays and Javonte Spraggins coming back, and John Campbell in his second year in the program, seventh in college on the right side of the offensive line. Sampson at running back has proven that he can make plays in this offense. So you have that to build around with guys like Chris Brazzell coming in and Lance Hurd at left tackle. And these guys have to prove what they can do, but nobody's really questioning what their talent is. Depth, I guess, is a question if they deal with injuries on the offensive line. And running back play behind Sampson has to prove what it can do. But that comes back to the offense. We trust Josh Heupel's offense, I think, overall to succeed if it has protection up front and good quarterback play, which I think is assumed at this point with Nico. He still has to prove what he can do over the course of a season. But when we talk about question marks, Nico is down the list in conversations I have with a lot of people. So what do they do in Norman, Oklahoma, week 4, the SEC opener, when they go on the road and they have good defenders and they have a really good defensive coach leading that program and Brent Venables? There's our first test. Georgia's so tough for everybody. So what they've been able to do against Tennessee's offense can apply for different reasons against everybody because of the personnel that they have at their disposal. Alabama had really good defenders in 2022 and couldn't do anything to stop Tennessee's offense. The tempo and the potential at quarterback and healthy an offensive line that looks like it should be really good in the SEC, that is why I'm a believer in this Tennessee offense getting back to what we saw in 2022. I'm not saying they're going to go score 50 points a game. That's just a huge ask, and that's what they were close to 2 years ago. But being a team that can score against just about everybody, including an Oklahoma-type team or Florida and Alabama when they come to Knoxville, I think Tennessee has a really good chance to be that again this season.
And to build off that, did you ever think that when Heupel, like, I know it's hard to go back and remember like your immediate takes here when Heupel was hired 3 years ago, but did you ever think he would get to a point where we're looking at a potential top 5 recruiting class ever in the Heupel era at Tennessee? Like we've seen in the past Tennessee getting to that point every now and then, but we've never actually seen it with Heupel. And to this question, I think what a lot of people wondered about, especially early on, was can he get to that top 5 level? Can they recruit with the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Floridas and the LSUs in the conference? I mean, did you foresee that as to where Tennessee's at right now in recruiting?
I don't know that I expected it. I don't know that I really thought of it that way. I more wondered, can he get to that level? And I think the answer is proving to be yes. We'll see how the class finishes out. They still have to land David Sanders, but I think they're in a great position to do that, and landing a 5-star player to go with a class that's top 7 or 8 overall right now. And they hit the top 5 in one service this past weekend. That's knocking on the door. I did think that Josh Heupel would have a chance to come in and be really good offensively and get the program back to a respectable level. And with Tennessee's resources, if you combine that with a stable program and a coach that's respected, then you can recruit at a top 5 level. Butch Jones did it very quickly at Tennessee with that 14 class and then the 15 class that was ranked so high there in the top 5. And I don't think there's anything special about Butch Jones compared to Josh Heupel if we're talking just a recruiting standpoint. I'm not comparing the coaches. I think every Tennessee fan is going to take Heupel overall. But going from UCF to Tennessee, I don't think it was a totally fair comparison what he did at UCF to Tennessee, because I think there's a pretty high floor of what you should be able to do as a recruiter at Tennessee. So knowing the success now, like in 2022, when they went and won 10 games, then 11 with the bowl, I thought, okay, they can take this to a really high level. They can do this more quickly than I expected. And what I hear behind the scenes about how people respect the way things are done, that also caused me to believe, and now we're in an NIL era where Tennessee has some advantages versus a lot of the schools, that's a combination that creates a lot of opportunity for Tennessee. So I never really thought yes or no, Josh Heupel can or can't get Tennessee to a top 5 recruiting level. I more wondered, but everything he's done to this point has helped build them to be in this position, and it's paying off.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, like, when you look at the Florida aspect of it, because, like, when he was hired, like, there was just, I thought, because I really liked Mullen. I've always been a Dan Mullen guy, and I think he's overachieved where he's gone. And the same kind of questions, I think, came up with Mullen at Florida that Heupel has had at Tennessee, where Mullen extrapolated every ounce of success he could get at Mississippi State, getting the number 1 overall. Like, that's just, like, the fact that Mullen was able to pull that off was incredible. And I think Heupel has... and one of the things with Mullen, the downfall was really just the recruiting of where it's like, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't top 5, top 7 every year. And you look at it and you're like, man, if they just waited another year or two with the NIL stuff coming down the pike, like maybe you should have just waited on Mullen. Like, how different does the Mullen tenure at Florida work? And I think, like you said, I think it's the right marriage between Tennessee resources and what Josh Heupel brings to the forefront, right? Like, you get the X's and O's guy, and you just get a stable coach who hires really well. I think he's done an exceptional job in the hiring department, but also just it seems like it's a good marriage, and it's just stability that and a high floor that Tennessee's not had in a long time. And I think Florida overlooked that, because it's like you see it again with Billy Napier. It's just most of Florida's history is actually pretty bad outside of the Spurrier and Meyer years. Like, those two were special coaches. By and large, it's pretty messy. And Heupel is just, everything's just normal. Like, you just kind of take for granted, I think, as a Tennessee fan that's now been going into year 4, that he changed the course of the program early and has just kept rolling. Like, he's lost 1 home game in the last 2 years. It's been pretty nice. Like, you're not on upset alert really ever. The games he has lost, they're road SEC games for the most part. Those are tough ones. Like, it's kind of amazing that he has just kind of made this all feel so normal so fast in Knoxville.
Yeah, there's not been a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Certainly by Tennessee or SEC standards from how things have gone over the last 10 to 15 years. So I think what Josh Heupel has done is he's brought some normalcy in his position, which is maybe uncommon for head coaches in college football. But he's done that. He's made things fun with what they do offensively. And I think Josh Heupel has embraced what he has to do, but also with what the people around him need to do. I don't look at Josh Heupel as this guy that is dedicated 24/7 to recruiting, and that's his main priority. Hey, we just got to go get players and everything will figure itself out. I think Josh Heupel is very much about ball. He is very much about planning and figuring out what they're going to do with the personnel that they have. He also recognizes you have to have players, you have to have talent if you're going to go compete with Georgia and Alabama and Texas and Ohio State to try to win championships ultimately. So the people that are in place around him, his assistant coaches, the support staff, we are in the NIL era. So the resources that Tennessee has had there, that has helped UT in what they're doing on the recruiting trail. So it all has combined to work, but Josh Heupel's in charge, and he has made sure that that has worked together. So I don't look at Josh Heupel like we think of Ed Orgeron as a recruiting head coach, or even like we think about Nick Saban, like with his dedication and focus on recruiting. I don't think that's Josh Heupel, but he knows the importance of it, and he knows the importance of having the right people in place and everybody working together to make it happen. And again, he still has a personality that I think is attractive to players. I think the players who have played for Josh Heupel have appreciated him so much that message gets delivered to recruits who hear it and believe it. And that's really paid off too.
I like it. Which fall camp position battle has you most locked in right now, Josh Ward?
Probably wide receiver. It's a deep group. They have a few guys that are proven, but still even proven guys that have to show what they can do, like Brew McCoy coming back from injury. Squirrel White, can he be even better this year? Dante Thornton trying to redeem himself. Chaz Nimrod trying to take a step to another level where he is counted on more. And then Chris Brazzell coming in.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.